Welcome back, and thank you for checking in on this glorious afternoon. Today, we are going west, into the wild west of history and fiction, a place of adventure where strong-willed lawmen pinned on a tin star and stood against evil, striving to bring justice to this untamed land. So take off your spurs and find yourself an easy chair while we ride the dusty trail of history. Hey everybody, welcome back to McNulty's Book Corral, and today it really is a corral because we're going west, as I mentioned, yet again, and we're going to talk about some really interesting material. I'll bet you can guess they're Fleetway comics. That's correct. I acquired another one of those Fleetway collections. I want to talk about it, but before we get to that, we'll start with this one. This one has been on the market for a long time. It was compiled and edited by Steve Holland, who is a noted collector and historian in the UK, and check out his history books. He has histories he's done. You can find his books on Amazon and I'm sure other booksellers. And I've never met him, but he does good work. He is a really interesting collector, and he put together this collection. This is a big fat one, and this dates from 2008, and it collects those Fleetway comics. It features Davy Crockett, Kit Carson, the Kansas Kid, Buck Jones, and so forth, and they are black and white illustrations, as you would expect. And, on the Fleetway Digest, I'll show you some in a moment, they have 2 panels per page because they're small little books. And these are black and white line drawings, inked drawings, and you get the usual here. You get the really good black and white artwork, which I admire. That's really the test to me is, these were comics that were not made to be colored. They were done in black and white, and they were meant to be printed and distributed in black and white, and they work beautifully. Beautiful illustrations from a wide variety of artists. So you get with this one, you get different styles, and it works really well. Buck Jones is represented in here. I'm going to show you a Buck Jones digest. I have one of those in my collection. And so this one I've had for a very long time. And for some reason, this was widely available in the United States in 2008 because I remember seeing it in bookstores, and that's where I bought it. How that happened, I don't know. That doesn't really happen now because the distribution channels are much different. In any event, if you see this on the aftermarket, and I think this is easily found on eBay, be sure to pick it up if you're interested in the Wild West and comic book stories. The stories are standalone, although you have a series. Kit Carson was a series, Buck Jones was a series, and they are standalone stories, so you get the full story rather than abridged versions. And they're nice. So this is a good one, a good fun one to have. Really glad I have that. But the reason for the episode is this. So another Fleetway Picture Library Classics. This is Larrigan. Now, this is volume 1 of 2. I don't have the second volume right now. The second volume is really pricey. I mean, we're talking big bucks, partly because of the tariff that's in place, and partly because you have a limited print run on these books. At least that's my understanding. They didn't print a whole lot of these, but they certainly sold out, I believe. So I think they're great. Again, published by a Book Palace book. And this is Larrigan, a character featuring the art of Arturo del Castillo. And the artwork in this is so beautiful. Really, and I'm so happy that I have this. Take a look at the splash page on this. I just put my, you don't need to look at my ugly face. The depth to the artwork is, take a look at this panel right here and see how that looks to you. And the way that these are composed, these are just beautifully done. And the whole book is like that. I can't wait to get the other one. So Castillo is an excellent artist, and there's so much depth to the panels. Look at this panel here. These are all black and white line drawings. I mean, they're inked. It's an inked drawing, and just phenomenal stuff. And again, I really enjoy this, and I don't see a lot of comic book collectors here in the United States don't care about the Western comics. And yet they were once a staple of the publishing industry. The comic book industry here in the United States was once loaded with Western comics, and they're just so beautifully done. Look at this page. I'll have a couple of scans, I think, I'll take some pictures of a few panels and show them to you close up. So these are fantastic. The stories are well written, and they're certainly beautifully drawn, and they are right on the money. Really, for you comic book fans and you artists out there who collect comic book art, these Book Palace books reprinting the Fleetway Picture Library comics are exactly what you would want to have in your library. They're pricey. Like I said, I don't have volume 2 of this, Larrigan 2, and I hope to get it. I mean, I have it on my radar. Really, it's at the top of the list. I'm just watching for an affordable copy because I'm going to pay. I'm going to pay through my nose when I get it. I mean, that's just the way it is, and that's fine. I don't have a problem paying out for something that has quality like this. I really don't. Fun material. So let me show you some of the digest books. So I have here in the United States we had Gunsmoke. I have a Gunsmoke from the UK. I'll have a scan of this coming up. These again, this is the size that you get for these digest comics. This one, I don't remember the year on this. This is 1960, and it is exclusively the 2-panel comic book for Gunsmoke, which we have. This series ran in the United States for decades. I don't know how long it ran really, but they were Dell. I have a bunch of these. I've shown you these before, and so I do collect Western comics. I'll show you a few more, and then I have this one. I don't know if I've shown you this or not. This is a Buck Jones from the UK, and I'll have a scan of this coming up. Now, the reason I have this comic is because the horror author Guyan Smith had this original artwork on his wall at his home when I met him in 2019, the solitary time I met that wonderful man. And so I bought this on eBay. I found it remarkable because Guy knew exactly what the number was. He emailed me back. When I got home, I asked him what was the issue, and he said Cowboy Picture Library number 278. And so I found it and bought it. And of course, I have a bunch of the American Buck Jones comics as well. But Guyan Smith was a big fan of the Buck Jones comic books. He loved these digest books. So when we're talking about Fleetway comics, the digest books, this is the size. This is what they were, and it was a major industry. I finding them can cost you a pretty penny. I'm going to be doing an episode about Robin Hood, and I have one of the Robin Hood Fleetways. I'll show you in addition to the new hardback collection, which I'm thrilled. Right, so that's why I'm doing some of these episodes, is because I acquired some of these reprint hardback and paperback collections, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to have this stuff. All right, so previously, I've shown you some of the Roy Rogers comics and all of that stuff. But I recently acquired some low-grade Western comics. I just thought I'd share them. But before we get to that, let's talk about what DC and Marvel haven't done yet that they should. They should be reprinting their Western collections. With DC, they have Jonah Hex, obviously, and maybe a few others, but they have Tomahawk. Tomahawk was such a beautiful, great, exciting series when I was a kid. And they were, it was science fiction and supernatural mixed together with Tomahawk. And this would be a perfect series to reprint. They would sell out. Of course, DC Comics doesn't know what they're doing. I mean, they have moments where they're trying to do this DC Finest thing. They should do DC Finest, or just do all of them. Just do Tomahawk. Just do Sergeant Rock. You know, don't give us a little bit. Give us all. Marvel has the Ringo Kid and many others. You know, I'm waiting for Marvel to realize what they're sitting on. They have the same problem that DC does. The accountants are in charge, and the accountants are not looking at Westerns as something that can sell as well as the superhero comics, and I maintain they're wrong. If they put this stuff out in a proper format that's affordable, like the DC Finest format is working for them, which was inspired by what Marvel does, they can sell these books. You know, I suspect the DC Finest series has been profitable for them thus far. We'll see. I don't know. I just think that they can do both. They can do a better job. So when it comes to low-grade comics, I don't normally buy low-grade. I'm willing to buy medium-grade. So I bought some really low-grade comics from my buddy over there at Black Cat Books, and Jesse, and he showed them to me because he knows I'm interested in this. And I didn't buy them all, but I bought a little bit of a stack from him. Here's a Bob Steele, and the reason I bought this is really, really low grade. And the reason I bought it is because I don't have a Bob Steele, and the movie actors, cowboy actors that had comic books is really interesting to collect. So I bought this strictly because I don't have a Bob Steele. Bob Steele is a forgotten film actor. His movies are forgotten. Nobody knows who he is, except guys like me. So I have a Bob Steele. Thank you, Jesse. I picked up this one. This one isn't too bad. It's a Dell. It's silver, which was the Lone Ranger's horse. Beautiful cover artwork on this, by the way. I will have a scan coming up. And I picked this one because the cover, it's a pretty good, it's intact, and the cover is in pretty good shape. And because silver is the Lone Ranger's horse, obviously, but the Lone Ranger is in the stories. So you get Lone Ranger stories in a different comic book. It was marketing. It was capitalizing upon the Clayton Moore television show. So I picked this one up. Now, this is a low grade. The Vigilantes from Dell. It has a big tear in the middle. But the reason I picked this up is because I like the cover. It was just aesthetics for me. And the books, I read them all, and they're all pretty good. The silver with the Lone Ranger stories were about what you would expect. I picked up Gene Autry's Champion. Gene Autry is another one who had his own series. So you get a Gene Autry comic with the horse playing a role. And the horse, Champion gets his own series. Again, the cover artwork on this stuff. If you're interested in decorating your man cave, these old comics make great scans to frame in an 8x10. I kid you not. Here's a Gene Autry. This is a low grade, and I didn't have this one, so because I didn't have it, I bought it. And on the back of this is on the back of the movie actor cowboy comics, you usually would get some type of poster you could rip off the back cover and pin it to your wall. They don't do that anymore, but they did back in the late 40s and through the 50s and 60s. Walt Disney's Davy Crockett at the Alamo. This was the best of the whole group, by the way. Fess Parker comics are still highly collectible. There is still a following for Fess Parker as Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone comics are out there. I have an episode where I went to Daniel Boone's final home, and you can find that in my travel videos. And I have a little tribute at the end to the comic books and to Fess Parker. I'm really pleased to have this one. Thank you, Jesse, for that. And this is a really good one. Wild Western Frontier Action. This is Atlas Comics Frontier Western, and it's okay. It's intact. It was a good comic to read. Nothing spectacular, but I enjoyed it. And then the Oklahoma Kid. This was actually really a good one. I was surprised. This is Ajax Comics, and it's pretty low grade. But there's a story in here coming up as a scan that I thought had a really nice splash page, and it was a good story. Interesting cover. You made a mistake this time, partner. In this territory, I defend my reputation as pale skin brother. A little cultural insight there happening in the late 50s, I believe this was, early 60s, and amazing. And then we're done here with my favorite. This is the best cover, and this was a really good book. This was I don't know what this was. This was a CDC comic. I'm not sure. Texas Rangers in Action, action-packed adventures. Texas Rangers in Action. Talk about your man cave scan. You could scan a comic book like this, frame this, and it's on your wall by your bar in your basement, in your man cave. And I know people that do that. I've done it up at the cabin. That's our man cave. John and I run that show, and we have a lot of weird stuff. I do have some comic book scans on the wall up there. I have a Roy Rogers scan up there, and a couple of other interesting things. Anyways, this was great. So I really enjoyed picking up these low-grade comics. They were good enough, and the one that's really in the worst shape was Gene Autry's Champion, and I didn't really show it closely, but if you look here, the mice had chewed the corners off down here, which is really a shame. That happened. So whoever had these did not take care of them. So it's worthless, really. It's really a worthless comic book. You can read it and you can still collect it with the corners chewed off. I don't recommend doing that, but I did it. So I'm telling you, don't do it, but I did it. I rarely will do this. I will buy medium grade comics, and this is low grade, real low grade collection, but they're intact enough that they're generally collectible for my box, or two boxes of maybe three boxes of Western comics. I have a lot of Jonah Hex. I have the Marvels. The Jonah Hex was such a great series. I would love to see Jonah Hex and Tomahawk reprinted by DC. Anybody have a connection to the head honcho over there? His name, Jim Lee. And whatever. I don't think they're very bright over there. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I just think they haven't demonstrated anything, really. The coloring in DC Comics these days is horrendous, really. And so is Marvel, too, but DC's worse. Anyways, that's from an era when the comic books were fun to read. They were fun to collect. And if you're looking for some man cave scans, get some old comics and do it that way. That is a look back at the Western comic industry, which was once just as prominent as the film industry. When it came to Westerns, they had comic books, they had movies, and they had paperbacks. Right now, the Western is experiencing a bit of a revival. We'll see where it goes. In the meantime, my friends, please stay well, stay happy. Feed your beautiful minds. Read a book.